All right, there we go. All right,
Yeah,
so
man.
yeah, man. Yeah, I wanted to pick your brain so I can you know, give people understanding because now I'm in the financial industry, right? So dealing with insurance, dealing with annuities, which is insurance, and trying to get my securities license. I just want people to understand how impactful it is to be able to trade on your own versus using somebody else as a backbone for trading, so to speak.
Yep.
Do it yourself type concept. So um let me start by just going over a few things. So man, don't get mad if I mess up your jack of your name, man. This is David M. Ferreira. Ferreira?
Ferreira,
Ferreira.
yeah, close.
Ferreira. Ferreira. I was trying to get it right, man. He's a commercial and multi-family portfolio specialist, right? Dual state broker, Massachusetts and Rhode Island,
Yeah,
right? And Massachusetts unrestricted construction supervisor, the only credentials stack on the South Coast that can
that's
transact, renovate, and lead safe a property under one roof.
it. All in one.
All in one-stop shop. One-stop shop. He also has a YouTube page, Fortified Realty Group, LLC,
Yep.
right? And you can go there to see more about him on YouTube. But without further ado, David Ferreira, you can take it over,
What's up,
man.
man?
Let us know the secrets, man. Let us know the secrets of trading because I'm a big time day trader now. Like I like to get into. I use Webull app, right? Because I'm not professional yet. So I like
Oh,
Webull.
Weeble's good. Weeble's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like it because it has the key performance indicators right there. As soon as I drop down the menu, I can see all of the earning per share and book value and the price to sell ratios and the price to book ratios. And I know how to read that stuff now. So it kind of helps me determine, and I know more about business. So I know that looking at an earning per share, that doesn't necessarily mean that business, if it's negative, the business is doing bad. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yep.
that they haven't started to generate any revenue now to cut into that earning per share loss. So um I just like to hear your take on how you look at, the whole picture of a firm.
Yeah, so I'm not really a day trader. Every time I tried to day trade, I lost money. I paid for a lot of expensive lessons trying to go too short term, right? I'm more of like a 5 year window guy, right? I have some narratives that I think are big and I stay hyper focused on those narratives. I don't look at too many companies. I think I have five stocks, if that. You know what I mean? But I know everything about them. I know exactly why they're moving, why they're not moving. And then I go from there, and that's it. So if there's a dip in the overall market in my stock, nothing has changed about my thesis, then I buy. If something changes about the thesis, you got to reevaluate and kind of pick another path, right? You can't be scared to cut losses. The worst thing we can do is hang on to losers for too long, because it's called the sunk cost fallacy, right? Where like you don't want to admit you're wrong, so you just ride it to zero. But as far as narratives, I guess for me, what kind of made me think the way I think was during COVID. So like the whole world shut down, right? The economy was closed. I'm thinking everything's crashing, right? My stupid little brain that didn't know anything yet. And I'm just wondering why the stock market is setting all-time highs. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So I made a lot of mistakes during that time. I spent a lot of money on my education. And then I learned about money printing. I learned about, government debt. I learned about inflation and how it all ties together. And from there, it kind of led me to realize, like for me, I think that, I mean, you're the same age as me, John. So I think we've lived through three technology revolutions in our lifetime, right? The personal computer when we were very young, the internet revolution when we were, in our teens, early 20s, and then the smartphone revolution about 15, 20 years ago. You know, and what happened in those times? Massive amounts of wealth were made. The world completely transformed. People were like scared of the technology. I'll never have a phone in my pocket. What do I need? People call me all day, the internet, blah, blah, blah. And now if you don't use those things, you're just like you're shut out of society, right? It totally transformed the world and made the world smaller. And I think right now we're living through the fourth revolution in our lifetimes, and it dwarfs all of those. And we can participate. Like before in the PC revolution, the dot-com revolution, a little bit of the early smartphone revolution, guys like us, retail, we were shut out, man. You know what I mean? And now with this AI revolution, and you're talking about using Webull, I use Robinhood. There's all these platforms that are available to people that you can participate. I mean, just this past Friday, I bought pre-IPO shares of SpaceX. Like that never was available to us, man. You know what I mean? Like that was the thing that we just never had an opportunity to participate. But with great power comes great responsibility. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I think you got to make some mistakes, but as long as you have a vision and you understand kind of what your thesis is and what shapes that thesis, it makes it very easy.
So
And it's
you keep alluding to the thesis. What is the thesis?
so my thesis, like I said, it's the impact of it's a couple of things, right? So like I said, government debt, inflation, money printing, I don't know how far down that rabbit hole you want to go, but that is not going anywhere. And there's effects of that, right? And we all feel it, right? Like our money doesn't go as far, right? When money printing happens, when inflation happens, whoever's closest to the money printer wins. Do you know what I mean? And by the time it gets to wages, it's too late. So if all you do is work a 9 to 5 and that's your income and that's what you live off of, you feel it more than anybody else because you have no assets, right? Your paycheck is the last thing to grow. So I
Hey,
look at
excuse me,
that.
David. Let me
Yeah.
let me take a time out. I need to take a break real quick, man.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me can I pause? Do I? Let me
Is this
start
streaming
recording.
live or no? You can.
All right, so I just wanted to continue on with just tell us about your Robinhood usage, and because I'm not really a Robinhood user. I have Robinhood app. I don't really use
Yeah.
Robinhood. I use Webull because I like to keep performance indicators and the different tabs they have. But tell us more about basically what you were saying. Everybody has access now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I mean, all right. So we're in a financial revolution, man, right? So and really it just comes down to UI, right? So like whatever user interface works for you, it doesn't matter. They all do the same thing. Webull, Robinhood, Fidelity. I think some of the older ones make the interface harder because they don't want you trading as much. Like look at
Right.
Vanguard, right? Vanguard's all about, index funds. They invented that space. It's very difficult to make a trade on Vanguard. And I think that's by
Thank you.
design.
Yeah, I mean, reason why I'm saying thank you, man, is because a lot of people do not understand that, man. Like when I'm talking to people,
Yeah.
yeah, I got a 401k with Vanguard. Okay, but do you know what they are lobbying for? Like, do you know what they're interested in? Like, what are they investing in? Do you know?
Yeah.
Well, I just know my 401k, they match me 3%. Ah,
Yeah, I mean that's another conversation because sometimes that 3% comes at a cost too because there's a high fees on those 401ks and you're not really invested in the right things. So you think you're doing something, but over time those fees add up, and in the end, what did you really gain? But that's a whole nother podcast, I think. But
okay.
but when it comes down to Robinhood, when it comes down to Webull, Fidelity, I transferred everything into Robinhood. I used to use Fidelity, I used to use Vanguard. I've been with Robinhood since like 2017, the ups and downs, and I just like it. It's just simple. It works well for me. I can put crypto in there. I can put stocks in there. They have pre-IPO. So for me, what it boils down to, man, is like at the end of the day, you have to have a thesis, right? Every investor's thesis is different. What goes into your thesis? Number one is your timeline, right? Like how much time are you willing to ride out these investments, right? I'm like a 5 year plan guy. I know I have a vision of where things are going in 5 years, and everything I do is based on that vision. You know, the second thing is in your thesis is whatever you're investing in, you have to understand the moat. Do you know what I mean? So not all companies are created equal, right? Like right now, the hottest thing in Wall Street is AI, right? So everyone, like the other day, I'm sure you saw this, Cracker Barrel, said, hey, we're going to use some AI. We're thinking about AI in our operations. All of a sudden, the stock goes up 40%. And I bet you anybody who FOMOed into Cracker Barrel could not articulate to you what the heck Cracker Barrel even meant by that. I can't articulate it because I could care less about Cracker Barrel stock. And I just thought it was funny. And it's indicative of a problem that we have, right? People just so with great access comes great responsibility. So you can invest in things faster and easier than ever before, but you can also lose money faster and easier than ever before. So you have to be careful, right? But it's the cost of the education. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm a property manager. So I try to just teach people what I know, but I don't really give financial advice, you know what I mean? But I think you have to study, you have to understand what you're investing in, and you have to be hyper focused. Trying to own 60 stocks, you're gonna lose. I think that's just my own experience and what kind of got me to where I am. My thesis is very simple, right? The government's gonna print money forever, inflation's never gonna stop, the debt's gonna grow out of control. How do you get out of debt? There's three ways. The first two they're never gonna do. They're never gonna cut spending. We've been down that road last year. It's just not gonna happen. They're never going to pay down the debt because it's impossible. So option three, you have to grow your way out of debt to survive. What's the fastest way to grow right now? It's AI, hands down, right? So AI will grow our economy so fast that our debt will be minimized. And if you're not on some kind of assets, you're going to lose, unfortunately, I think, right? That's the wake up call that I think most people don't realize, and it's scary to invest. It's scary, what do you buy? And I have these conversations with people all the time, man. And they text me all the time about questions about stocks. And I'm like, oh, did you buy any? Oh, no, not yet. I'm like, why? Like, dude, you're doing all the research. Guy, just buy $100, whatever you can afford to lose. Now you have skin in the game. It doesn't cost anything. And whatever, you lose, you lose. But you're learning. So, with that in mind, for me, it's AI, right? I think AI is the winner. Now, not all AIs are created equal. You know,
Right.
there was a big IPO last week. Did you play around with SpaceX? Did you get into that one at all? Or
No, I watched it. I didn't. My buddy got into it. He bought in at 135. He tapped out at 172. Um,
nice.
but
Now they might blacklist him now. What platform is he on?
I don't know what platform he's on.
So if you sell the IPO, if they give you pre-IPO and you sell too quick, they could shut you out. Like Robinhood, I think it's 30 or 60 days, which means you
Hmm.
might miss Anthropic and OpenAI if you're into that. I think Fidelity, you're blacklisted forever. There's a couple of them, so you have to be careful if you flip them. But who cares, right? If he's not planning to buy another IPO, it doesn't matter. But that's something that was making the rounds that last week. People were talking about that.
But that's the thing too with AI and technology now, man. Like, um, I kind of like that concept because I think the natural market has been tainted.
Hmm.
That's the right word, tainted because of the access. And like you said before, you said with great access comes great responsibility, right? So,
Yeah.
um, for people to go in and I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm with you on the day trading thing. I'm not a day. I don't. I think earlier you thought I day traded, but I don't day
Yeah.
trade. I trade for wealth. You know what I'm saying? Long term, like you
Yeah.
do.
All right.
Um, but scalping, man, I cannot. That concept it bothers me because this is the fact of the matter. A lot of people in this country are utilizing the market to set up their retirement income.
Hmm.
So for people to be able to go in on a daily basis and take earnings, it doesn't feel right to me. Like it feels almost like theft
What do
because
you
we,
mean?
we, we
Like,
should be we should be I feel we should be investing in companies for the research and development and all that kind of things to utilize that return on the equity at some future point in time, right, where where it makes sense for you to say, hey, okay, I've invested in you shares of your company enough for a long period of time that it's time to take my what I need, right? And so like it gets back to what you were talking about. Okay, like I feel somebody that has been actively or participating in the market for 5 years. Yeah, they should have be able to take out, you know, whatever they want to take out of because they've invested in that company for that period of time. But to go in one day and try to predict how the candles will move and then, make 3, 4 grand, like if you got, hundreds of people doing that, then what does that do to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, yeah, it creates volatility. Well, you know what's funny is now Robinhood, they have agentic trading. So you can I'm going to do this. I have to figure out how to do it. But you can connect your AI, you can create an account on Robinhood, fund it with real money, put $100, $200, whatever,
right.
connect your AI and train it to trade for you. And it'll literally trade. People have been doing this already. And it's insane, and it's you see
But
on
see, that's scary to me because I mean, like, like I'm gonna tell you the truth, man.
it is, it is.
I am so impressed with AI, bro.
Yeah,
Like, I am an AI fan, bro. Like,
yeah,
I have never learned this fast in my life.
yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've never been able to just take thoughts in my mind, apply to something,
yeah,
and get a real time answer in depth with resources of where it got the information from.
yeah,
Like, it's crazy. So when you have bots trading, to me, that's one thing that should be X. Like, come on, man. Like, let's keep some things real. Like, let's keep some things
yeah.
natural. Because the fact of the
I
matter
mean,
is,
yeah. I mean, that's where it's going, right? But it's more important than ever now that you have to understand, like, there will be winners, right? Like, AI can't do physical things, right? Like, not yet. It's getting there, but it's like, so all right, let's talk about so we're talking about SpaceX, right? Why am I so bullish on SpaceX versus Anthropic or OpenAI? Okay, because those are the three biggest IPOs this year, right? So SpaceX just came out first. The other two have filed. They're gonna come out after. So I mean, so everybody knows SpaceX. That's Elon's rocket company. They are a major. They're doing a lot with AI. I'll get into that in a second. OpenAI, that's Chat GPT, and then Anthropic is Claude. Okay, so what do these companies do? What do they have? What will withstand the test of time? Okay. OpenAI, they were the first ones to market. They had ChatGPT, I think it was 2022, right? So they became the verb, right? ChatGPT. But they're all software. They don't own any data centers. They're cutting deals with everybody trying to get compute, right? They've made some crazy deals with Nvidia. So Nvidia has been around forever. They made gaming GPUs. Then they figured out, okay, these GPUs work for AI to train AI. So all of a sudden the stock like 20x'd, overnight,
wow,
because they were the picks and shovels, right? So if you remember the California gold rush, who made the money first? It was the picks and shovels, right? The guys that sold the picks and shovels to the gold miners made the money. Then a couple of gold miners won. So that's where Nvidia came in. Okay. Now, OpenAI, they have software. The AI space is moving so fast that I don't think there's a moat in just software anymore. Do you know what I mean? Having the best AI model, I don't think that's enough of a moat. And investing the moat is what protects your investment, right? If anybody can spin up a competitor to you and steal your market share, that's a bad investment. And I think a lot of these AI companies that are spinning up, it's kind of that same thing because the space is moving so fast. Then, Anthropic comes along with Claude, and they all started at OpenAI together. If you read the history on this, OpenAI started in 2015. It was like Elon, Sam Altman, the guy who founded Anthropic, Dario and his sister, they all started at OpenAI. And then Sam Altman's not really a good dude, and everybody left and kind of did their own thing. So Anthropic comes along. They have Claude. Have you ever used Claude Cowork or any
no,
of the Claude models? Dude, Claude is awesome for like writing code. I don't know anything about coding, bro. The last 4 months, I'm like the coding king. I'm building apps. My website, I built all that myself with Claude. So it's definitely it is
wow.
awesome, man.
You
And it's
guys should check out his website. It's professional. Trust me. It is, yeah, it's that.
So like in my business, man, I'm looking at what I'm spending money on, and I was spending a lot of money on the web team. I'm spending a lot of money on software. And I realized a couple of months ago, like, all right, if I can learn how to like build all this, I can make it bespoke to my business. I can serve my clients better, right? And it fits our niche, and I can save a lot of money because I'm not paying these fees every month. So that's my mission. I've been learning. So I've been using Claude. Obviously, everybody's used ChatGPT, but the real competition now is in enterprise, right? So businesses, that's who spends the money, right? Like ChatGPT is not going to maintain $1 trillion valuation on 1 million people spending $8 a month to use their. It's just not sustainable, right? But you get enough businesses that have enterprise packages and are spending thousands of dollars a month. And I'm just a small business, and I spend thousands of dollars a month on this stuff, building. That's where the real value comes in. But the problem is, if your value is only software and models, it's very competitive. So we have Claude Opus 4.8, and then ChatGPT, they came out with Codex. I think it's Codex 5.5 or something like that. Then you have Gemini is coming out, that's Google. So they're all competing for the enterprise money. So at a certain point, there's only so many dollars to go around. And you're seeing now the pricing pressure on these enterprise packages is coming down just in time for their IPO when they need their prices to go up. So I don't think the moat in software only works. And Anthropic is paying SpaceX $1.25 billion a month to use their computing centers. So that's what's so intriguing to me about SpaceX. SpaceX owns data centers. They have Colossus 1, Colossus 2. Elon can build a data center in like 66 days. That's how fast they're getting at this. They are building their own chips. They've been building chips for years. Now they announced Terafab with Tesla. So they're building physical hardware, right, that everybody needs. Elon can launch rockets into space. He's got 10,000 Starlink satellites up there. They ship more cargo to outer space than any government, all governments combined. I don't think if you combined everybody else in the world, I think SpaceX has shipped more to outer space than everybody in history combined. And they've done that in the last 10 years, 15 years. So you have this physical thing that can create data centers, that can ship them everywhere. OpenAI, Anthropic, even Google is paying $1 billion a month to SpaceX to use their data centers because these AI models need compute. So whoever owns the compute and the physical infrastructure will win. And that's my SpaceX thesis, right? So they are the infrastructure, the backbone of AI. They are NVIDIA on steroids. NVIDIA got to $5 trillion on chips, right? Like, think of all the things that SpaceX can do. At 5 trillion is it's a dwarf valuation. Like I could see them 50 trillion one day. So when I look at the IPO, I don't focus on the share price as much as the market cap, right? So when SpaceX came out on Friday, they were valued at about 1.75 trillion. So if you could buy it at 135 a share, you would pay 1.75 trillion. Puts them top 10 in the world of valuations. But look at the gap between them and NVIDIA, they can easily close that, right? And then I look at total addressable market, right? So what is the market that these companies have? You know what I mean? So like the bigger the market, the smaller the valuation, the more upside, right? So SpaceX, all the problems they can solve, I mean, I could walk you through $50 trillion worth of market that they can solve. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're worth 1.75 trillion, massive upside. Now you're going to see Anthropic and OpenAI, they filed for IPO. They're both worth about $1 trillion each. That's private valuation. So we'll see where they land. But what is their real upside? All they offer is software. That's it, right? They offer these they're very capable models, but it's a race
But
to the bottom.
they have, like you said, they have competitors that can come in and provide a better solution and
Dude, it's
knock them off the
massive, bro.
block.
Dude, do you know the Chinese open source models, bro, that you can download and run in a closed loop on your computer? That now I don't have to pay anybody. They have Kimi, they have Quen, they have GLM. This is the stuff, dude. 5, 6 months ago, I didn't know any of this.
Wow.
And then like I started
Wow.
learning it. I use it every day. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling it in my pocket. And I'm like, all right, there has to be a better way. Like Claude is $1 a minute. That's what it costs me to run Claude. And it does amazing things. It's worth every penny. But every time I run something, it costs me $1 a minute. That's it. I'm running it, it's probably not the most efficient way, but it's working. So there is so much competition. So I think what you're going to see with OpenAI and Anthropic is there's going to be all this hype. Everyone's going to YOLO in. It's going to spike up and then it's going to drop out. And I don't know. I think longer term, I don't think they win. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they'll be around, like they're not going to disappear, but there's not enough room for all of them because that market is disrupting so fast. And SpaceX made a big announcement today too. I don't know if you saw that. So they were before they IPO, they were talking about buying Cursor for 60 billion. Cursor is another AI platform, very well regarded for coding, but they didn't have the compute. So the model kind of like was anemic, right? Because it didn't have the computing power where it could learn and grow. SpaceX linked up with them about a month ago. Cursor 2 to 2.5, all the benchmarks, just having a month of unlimited compute power like blew everybody away. And now SpaceX had said before they had the right to do it. They announced today they're going to buy them for 60 billion, which means Grok is now dialed in to supplant Claude, Codex, all of them, and they can sell it at a much cheaper price because they own all the compute. Do you see what I mean, man? Like it all comes down to like the real physical infrastructure behind it, And then once you start to understand that and you see that, you can sift through all the noise of AI and pick the best ones. If you notice, NVIDIA ran first. What's been running the last 2, 3 months? Micron, SanDisk, AMD. What do they make? They all make the chips that everybody needs, so they're like the second wave. But I don't know. I don't know how much more room they have to run. I wouldn't chase any of them right now. It's just too much of a violent upswing. I think there's other opportunities. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I think what's going to grow our economy? Back to my original thesis, is this like the economy, the GDP, businesses can grow so fast because we have leverage now, man. Like you said, right? Like never have you been able to learn so quickly, man, and be so efficient. And I don't believe the story that they sell you that it replaces jobs, right? I think the job market just evolves like any other technological revolution. Do you know what I'm saying? And there'll be some pain along the way, but the job market just evolves. Do you know what I'm saying?
Especially during this period too, because until robotics has figured it out where robots have actual feelings like humans,
Yeah,
can relate to people, consumers, it's not economically savvy to use a robot to perform all functions of a business. You know what I'm saying? You still want people, and you're still gonna have customers out there who want human interaction. So, um, I think what it does right now, man. So it's crazy that you're talking about this stuff, man. That's how AI is working in this world right now. I literally was doing. I'm one class away from my MBA, and
nice,
I was
man.
literally in my entrepreneurship class,
Yeah,
and it was talking about exactly what you're talking about right now with the moat. It was talking about how buyers, right? Um, Buyers have control of the market. They're going to drive the prices based on what they buy, because based on what they buy is what the firm can produce. You know what I'm saying? They
yeah,
can't produce anything that people don't want. You know what I'm saying? So um, the moat really has two pressures. They have not only internal pressures, but they have external pressures from the buyers and whatever entity they servicing, like SpaceX. Like so, these companies, like, they're not only going to be selling to SpaceX, they're going to be selling to buyers too.
yeah,
And if their products are wiped off the map because of somebody or some other startup comes in with some new software, so like you hitting it right on the you hitting it right on the head. Like you're teaching me in real time, and it's basically just backing up my education. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we're learning in today's space with AI. I'm able to go on, you know, without even researching that information, not taking it didn't even take me 30 minutes to,
yeah.
find that information out. Now you come back on in real time and you're telling me, hey, there's this moat around SpaceX. And that moat will forever change based on the needs of SpaceX. Because SpaceX is the hardcore material, like the hardware of it all. So
Yeah.
everything else is expendable. Like you can be swapped out for somebody else.
That's it,
You know,
man.
Yeah, so like, man, it's power. It's this. this right here, this message getting across to some 18-year-old, 19-year-old, um, who really doesn't understand, should understand from this conversation that, okay, yeah, from day one, being 18 years old, graduating high school, turning 18, whatever it may be, I am an adult and I live in America, and investing is one of the trademarks, one of the bare necessities of living in America. Like a
Yeah.
part of my income has to go to firms who can make me money.
You have to, man, because if all, like I said, man, if all you're relying on is income, your income is getting destroyed at a rapid clip, like faster, and it's accelerating, right? If you look at the debt chart, the faster that chart grows, the less value your money has. And it's kind of a lot. Like this is like a deep rabbit hole, but this is what you learn in Bitcoin. Like when you study Bitcoin, that kind of opens your eyes. And it's so funny because, you know, learning Bitcoin 5, 6 years ago was actually the perfect precursor to learning AI because it's all the same thing, right? It's like it's about protecting what's yours, right? It's about understanding a little bit of self-sovereignty, like I said, where you can download these open source models and run them on your own, and now you're not beholden to any company. It's about understanding, the value of scarcity, right? And like how money erodes, so we work our entire lives, man, to get a paycheck. And every time we go to the store, that paycheck is worth less and less. It buys less things. And we all feel it. We all relate to it. Like you know, and if you don't recognize that and make that change and start to accumulate assets, you're gonna lose. And at a certain point, it's over. Like you're never gonna have the life you want. It's getting further and further out of reach. And the barrier to entry to accumulate assets is $1. That's what Robinhood and Webull and all this fintech revolution. I mean, Cash App you can invest in, Venmo you can buy stocks. You know
Everybody,
what I mean?
everybody.
Yeah, like this is the so yeah,
FanDuel,
there's stocks too.
DraftKings, like all these.
Yeah,
Was it Kelsey, whatever you call it, Kelsey, whatever it
yeah,
is.
yeah, like this, so it's like, but it's tough because it's overwhelming, right? So like, where do you start? So I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone has to start somewheres. I started with the thrift savings plan, working for the government, and buying index funds, and that was fine. So when I left the government in 2018, I had a little small bag built up that just happened naturally. But then I took charge of that, and I've been doing my thing with it since then. But so I don't expect everyone on day one to know what to invest in, but at least create the habit, like get the free app, put $1, put $2, put $5, whatever that number is, and create a habit. And then it compounds from there, you know? And I think you can't like, you got to understand like again, this is my thesis, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I don't think I am wrong, but maybe I'm wrong. But, so you understand how it all fits in. And then once you understand a clear vision of where it's going, it's easy to pick the ones that you want to invest in. And it's easy to dismiss the ones that you don't want. You can cut through the noise. And like I said, the real thing to me is the physical versus just like software. And you can see like the whole wave of .com winners are getting phased out because they went on software. Look at Microsoft, right? Microsoft's whole business was software. That was their moat. They had Windows, they had Office, all that. AI is recreating that in real time. There's no need for that anymore. Like, why would you pay for software when you can just build it? Google is making a pivot, right? They're definitely a major AI player. They started slow and they kind of stumbled out of the gate, but they're winning. Apple never really did an AI, which is nuts because they had Siri in your pocket since 2011, right? And they just never did anything with it. They tried to build cars, it didn't work, but they announced last week that Gemini, which is Google's AI, is going to power Siri now. You know what I mean? So there you go. Like, look at it's just like now Gemini is now in every Apple device's pocket. Amazon, they're kind of like an advertising AI play, but they have physical things, right? They have their warehouses, they have their distribution network, they have logistics. They have that. I don't know how much more growth they have. He blew up his only rocket the other day, Blue Origin. Did you see that? The rocket blew
Yeah, I
up.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was supposed to be the SpaceX killer, but I think they're going to be paying SpaceX to serve some of their contracts while they rebuild, right?
Well, I
Um,
mean, I studied that last night too. That's that was a case study I had to look over. It's talking about Apple and Google were actually I didn't even know this. Apple and Google were actually together partnering for GPS, Google Maps
yeah,
at
back in the
one
day.
point.
Yeah,
And then Apple broke away because data sharing issues.
yeah.
And so when they broke away, they initially had to apologize to everybody because they were deficient in what they were doing. Like they couldn't get it together. They promised Apple Maps, but they couldn't really, they
Oh,
couldn't
it's
pinpoint.
terrible.
Yeah.
Have you ever used it? It's terrible. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like it is a terrible product. And yeah,
I use Google Maps on the Apple phone, so
yeah, I
you
do
know,
too. Yeah, I do too. Yeah, it's just,
but
and but now it went full circle. Now they need Google because they have no, but what Apple has is their computers are really, really good for AI. Do you know to run local models like, so you could pay $4,000 for a MacBook Pro kitted outright with enough RAM and it'll run a lot of local models. And it's more and more every day that's getting better. So I think that's Apple's niche kind of. But Apple got to 4 trillion selling iPhones. If you had invested in Apple on the day that Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, right? I think it was January 2009 when he came on stage and he announced, remember that? And he announced the iPhone and then they sold it a couple months later. Had you bought Apple stock that day, you would have got 30% compound annual growth rate since then. So every year, your Apple stock 30% compounding, 30%, 30%. And that's off the iPhone. And then what did they transition to? To a software services company, right? You pay your iCloud bill every month. I think I'm paying 40, $50 a month, and they pack all this stuff in it. I don't use half of it, but I need the iCloud storage, so they charge you for it. So that was the transition they made. Now, where are they going next? I don't know. I don't know where they go. I think they're going to just be, I don't know. They'll pull something out of their hat. They just changed CEOs. Tim Cook is stepping down now, you know. So I don't know where they go. But, when I tell people like, dude, like Tesla, 30% compound annual growth rate because they're not a car company anymore. They're now a physical AI company, you know. SpaceX, could they have it 30%? Like this is not unheard of. Like boring old Apple did 30% compounded annually for the last what, 17 years. You know what I mean? So it's not unfathomable that a company can grow 30% a year if you pick the right winner, you know? And so I think for AI, man, it's Tesla to me. Tesla's an AI company, they're not a car company. SpaceX is an AI company. I think Google has some potential. They're a little pricey though, and they just sold a lot of shares too. I don't know if you saw that. I forget they needed to raise money to build data centers. So instead of taking on debt, they just diluted their shares a little bit. So they were down last week. But those are like the big ones for me. I have some Nvidia. I don't think I'd buy any more Nvidia unless it really, really dives down because their business, you can see it getting disrupted down the road. So the whole thing is changing fast, man, but it's so
but
exciting.
with Nvidia though, I think it's a sustainable model because the fact of the matter is me personally, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there is another technology that comes out other than the microchip but the microchip is so important to all electronics that, and it keeps getting more and more, how can I say, they keep getting more and more creative, decreasing the size of these chips and the computing power of these chips and the functionality of these chips are just, it's ridiculous, man. Like, I'm like, how in the world can these chips perform at these speeds and have this much computing power being like micro miniature, like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So like NVIDIA, as long as they keep up with their research and development, and I think everybody, that's another one of those stovepipes that you spoke about, like with SpaceX.
Yeah.
Um, People will need them. I mean, they will need suppliers, but people will need them more than suppliers need them. Suppliers will get bought out and passed up by different people who are creative and make up and come up with new ideas and new startups. And supply their cars. But just like Elon Musk, you're talking about with the Tesla, man. Tesla, man, I had to research them in school, and it blew my mind because I'm all the time I'm sitting here thinking Tesla, 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 car, EV, EV. Man, Elon Musk is into sustainable energy. He's not worried about the Tesla car. Now what he'll do is he'll have his team produce a car that makes him revenue, but his end goal is sustainable energy. He just wants to make sure power never goes away.
I think there's more there with the cars, right? So you're talking about producing the car. So Tesla makes a Model Y and they sell it, right? You go, I buy a Model Y, you buy a Model Y. It's a one-time revenue thing to them, right? There's probably 16% margin on that thing. So they sell one Model Y, $5,000 they get, you know, they sell a million of them a year, a million times 5,000, whatever that number is, right?
Right.
Um, Now, what if we made those Model Ys self-driving? So now we get the $5,000 off the Model Y and you
Uh-huh.
pay $99 a month so the car will drive you around. That $99 a month, that margin is like 95%. It's like all profit pretty much, right? So now the car makes you 5,000 plus 1,200 a year for every year that you own it, okay? Now let's take it one step further. What if the cars could drive themselves and pick people up and drive them around for a quarter of the price of the equivalent Uber ride, and we could turn a profit on that? The same car that we build and make 5,000 already, but instead of selling it to you, we keep it in our books and we make $50,000 a year of profit on it, driving people around, blowing up Uber's business model. And in the total addressable market, if an Uber ride is $15, right, to go 3 miles, whatever that is, right? And maybe there's 100 people in your town that can afford that ride. But the guy making 12 bucks an hour that's struggling to pay rent can't
Hmm.
afford to take an Uber to work, so he misses days of work. All of a sudden, a cyber cab, that same ride is $3. That guy's like, dude, I can go to work. How many more people will pay $3 for the same ride than 12? It's not 4 times the amount of people, bro. It's like 30 times the amount of people, right? The more if you lower a price by 50%, the total addressable market like triples. It's nuts. It's so like it's counterintuitive to what you would think. So where Elon's going with Tesla is build the cars, deploy them autonomously to drive people around, cyber cabs, robo taxis. It's a car that costs you maybe 20,000 to manufacture, brings you $50,000 a year revenue forever.
Wow.
You know what I
Wow.
mean? And you can build these things like that, like minutes to get them off the line, right? Like, and so people are like, oh, how's that going to make Waymo? Waymo's already there. So, are you familiar with Waymo?
No.
Google. So, Waymo is the self-driving car that's out there right now. So, there's a few places you can go. You can get a Waymo. So, you get in the car. There's no driver. You get like Uber's partnering with them. All this, and it takes you where you got to go. There's no savings. It costs the same amount of money as an equivalent Uber, and it's they don't make any money on it. So for Google to put one Waymo on the street, they're buying the cars from Jaguar. They're EVs that they buy from Jaguar. I think they have a partnership now with some Chinese company. They're going to import and pay 100% tariff because it's still cheaper than buying it from Jaguar. That car cost them $75,000. Then they got to outfit it with all the cameras, the lidar, all that. There's another 100,000. That price is coming down, so call it 75. So it's 150,000 just for the vehicle. It takes them months to get it and build it out and then deploy it on the road. They lose $2 a mile. So every mile they drive, the company is losing $2. Okay.
Hmm.
Unsustainable, unscalable.
Right.
Tesla has the Cybercab, right? Right now they're using Model Ys, but they have the Cybercab that's rolling out as we speak. This is the transformation that's happening with Tesla. They can build the Cybercab maybe 20, 25,000. Eventually their goal is to get it down to $15,000. That's all in, bro. Cameras, the vehicle off the line. So say they just use a Model Y, it costs them $25,000. They build a million of these a year already that people buy, top 10 selling car in the world. The car comes off the line. Any Model Y that you or I buy has the same capability as that. It's 7 cameras, 8 cameras built into the car, all the AI logic. There's 10 billion miles of real world driving that have trained the AI. And now they can flip the switch. So already their cost of goods sold from 150,000 to like 25,000, their turnaround time, they can push them out in minutes versus months. And they can sell you the ride for a quarter of the price and turn a profit.
Wow.
That's the transformation of AI, man. So what
Yeah.
is the value of the entire transportation market? And you see it, man. Like Uber is now trying to make deals with Waymo, and they're trying to, and Nvidia sees these companies about to go under, so they're just offering them deals on chips. Hey, we got this chip we made that powers self-driving cars. We'll sell it to you, sure. Yeah, $20,000 a chip, and they're all lining up to buy it. But what does Nvidia care? They're just selling the chips, and they create a little basic software stack to go with it, totally unscalable. And I think Nvidia. So that's my Tesla thesis, right? And I didn't even talk about robot chat or anything like that, but it's all the same thing. So, that's so if you're looking at Nvidia at 5 trillion, okay, if you put $1,000 into Nvidia and you think Nvidia can go to $10 trillion, that's a 2x, right? Tesla right now is 1.5 trillion, give or take. I'm telling you how like they're gonna manufacture something for $20,000 or whatever and make $50,000 a year of revenue on that. What is that worth? Right? Say they just get to 5 trillion, bro. Say they go from 1.5 to 5 trillion. That's a three something X. So your thousands now 3,000 versus Nvidia doubling and going to 2,000. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is how I look at this stuff, right? It's all relative market caps. What's the upside? What's the transformation that's taking place? And where we have the ability now, because of information, we can kind of front run Wall Street because we're nimble, man. We don't have a bureaucracy and a board of directors telling us what to buy, right? We can just do good research, understand the economics and the business models, use AI to augment where we lack understanding, right?
Make the market
Explain
more
it to us.
natural.
Yeah. And now we can jump and we can dive in before anybody figures it out. And if you look at traditional metrics, like you were saying earlier, where like price to sales is like, yeah, dude, some of these ones are like insanely, like if you look at Tesla on price to earnings, it's like 300. It's insane, right? But if you look at it at discounted future cash flow and you say, all right, what is if they can execute this, and now you're betting on Elon to execute, right? And the team, if they can execute this, what is the future cash flow really worth? And what am I paying for it today? And all of a sudden that 300 becomes like 1x. You're paying a factor of one of future if they can execute. And that's the question. And that's the risk. That's the bet. Can they execute or not? You know what I mean? And I'm very bullish that they will, and I've allocated accordingly. So
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I don't see anybody in the near future rivaling. I mean, other than NASA,
yeah, but even NASA had to pay SpaceX to bail those guys out of the space station.
right, right,
Like
right,
NASA's done, bro. They got nothing. They pay SpaceX.
right.
Dude, it's like, and I don't know. I mean, look, SpaceX, it's at, let's see, 219 right now, dude. Nuts, man. But that's
Yeah, started
early
at 135.
manipulation. Yeah. Like don't chase that. Let that cook for a little bit. And I
Yeah,
think eventually they're gonna merge with Tesla anyway. So, buy Tesla on sale. People are dumping Tesla to buy SpaceX, buy the Tesla on sale, you know, but
yeah,
not financial advice. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to put that disclaimer in there. Got to put that disclaimer in there. But yeah,
but
man. So I guess we're almost up on our times. 6:55 now.
yeah,
So if anybody has any questions and answers for David, I told you, his website. He has a YouTube page. Um, you can hit those up. Actually, fortifiedrealty.net, right?
yeah,
And then you have his YouTube tag is
at
at
Fortified
Fortified Realty
Realty.
Group LLC.
Yep. You can tag me in
So
the
yeah,
video too when you post it. I think you can tag my channel and it'll post on both of our channels.
okay,
But
okay, I'll do that. But yeah, man, it's been an honor, man. It's been great, man, to catch up with you, especially on these kind of because we're both entrepreneurs, and I think I see that's where a lot of business is going. People they're gonna need to be able to, be resourceful, be an entrepreneur, provide a service, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People can use because AI, man, AI is like it's amazing. And people shouldn't be like you say, shouldn't be afraid of it. It's just it is what it is. Like either you're gonna jump into it, you're gonna learn, or you're gonna sit back and cry and say, well, I can't learn that fast. Well, you know, I just see it being very, very, and I get it. It is scary because I mean, potentially, if you look at the dark side of things, um, if somebody was really ugly, yeah, they can control everything with like I mean, Elon is at that point, man. Like you got Grok, you got the most powerful computing AI model in the world, and then you got SpaceX, and you have Tesla Sustainable Energy. Like, dude, that's other than farming and agriculture, you run the world with those things, man. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, that's always been it. That's why he started OpenAI, by the way, was to be open source to so that way that wouldn't happen. And that's why he left OpenAI because Sam Altman was kind of taking it in the wrong direction. But the whole ethos
uh,
of Grok is opened up the hunger for truth, not to be that evil overlord. Do you know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
So, but yeah, man, I appreciate the opportunity, man. Dude, we go back almost 30 years, man. That's
Yeah,
nuts.
man. Back to Portugal, baby. Back to
Yeah.
Portugal. David was our lifeline, the interpreter, taught us all our Portuguese. And without David, we wouldn't survive in Portugal. But man, Portugal was a bomb, man.
But now, hey, now we got Google Translate. We can translate with AI, man. It's nuts, bro. You know, it's literally in real time. Just use AI to translate a comment. It's so wild, man. You
Right.
know, but
All right, brother,
awesome,
man.
man. Well,
I
I
gotta get on this
appreciate
other
it, man.
call,
I'm
man.
proud of
But
you, man. You making moves, bro. Hell yeah.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh,
Hey, we have round two. Next one is
yeah.
robotics, right? I see you getting into a lot of robotic stuff too, so
All
I
right.
want to pick your brain about that too.
Definitely, man. All right, bro. Thank you, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right.
Let me end this.
Did you end the recording or you just killing it all together?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to. Okay, there we go.